ladies and gentlemen. It is Friday, February 22nd, 2013. This is Flashpoint Radio, and I am your host, Jay-Z. Thank you for joining me. Remember, you can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/flashpointradio. I periodically tweet at Flashpoint Radio, and very soon, flashpointradio.com will be up and running with videos and other links, stories, things like that. Look for that in the near future. We're going to cover this evening some stories dealing with House legislations in different states around this country. Not everything revolves around the federal government. The media and everyone in this country would love to have us believe that the federal government is very important to our lives, when in actuality it's our state and local governments that affect our lives. We covered this on Tuesday. Missouri Democrats call for gun confiscation. This was House Bill 545, proposed by Rory Ellinger and Jill Shoup. You can find all of that on Tuesday's Flashpoint Radio in the links. But we have this from the Branson Tri-Lakes News. State assault weapon ban headed nowhere, reps say. Republicans own 2/3 of the House in the state legislature, so it is destined to go nowhere. But I applaud the Democrats for at least proposing things that they believe in, that their constituents would appreciate. Another article from Infowars.com, citizens applaud defeat of firearms ban in Massachusetts. Well, a local community decided to propose a firearms ban, an assault weapons ban for their city. And well, at a council meeting, it was struck down to raucous applause in support of its defeat. The problem I have with this article is this. You always have to watch out for the NRA. They might not always be the bastions of the Second Amendment that they claim to be. The NRA's David Keene responded to the decision with the organization's standard middle-of-the-road defense of the Second Amendment and Bill of Rights. Quote, one of the things that people in these town meetings and other folks ought to look at is the Constitution itself. It is possible and it is legal to put certain restrictions on the Second Amendment rights, but those kind of restrictions have to be looked at very critically. No, actually the Bill of Rights are pretty concrete, and it takes a constitutional convention, so we don't need to be giving these little nuggets, these little openings, NRA, for the gun grabbers to come in and get their foot in the door and get something rolling. Moving right along from newsok.com out of Oklahoma, gun manufacturing bill advances through Oklahoma House Committee. A bill that would exempt guns or ammunition made in the state from federal regulations and hailed by its authors as protecting Second Amendment gun rights for Oklahomans easily passed its first test. Yes, the Oklahoma House is looking to protect guns and ammunition made in Oklahoma. This is less of a Second Amendment Protection Act than a States' Rights Protection Act. They should be passing bills that rock solidly prohibit the federal government from imposing any restrictions, no matter if it's made in your state or not, because it is the Second Amendment and it is our freedom, it is our liberty in a nutshell. In Missouri, though, back to our home state, my home state, HB 436, Second Amendment Preservation Act, sponsored by Representative Funderburk. This bill establishes the Second Amendment Preservation Act, in which all past, present, or future federal acts, laws, orders, rules, or regulations that infringe on the people's right to keep and bear arms are guaranteed by both the Second Amendment and the Missouri Constitution, and are invalid, will not be recognized, are specifically rejected, and will be considered null and void and of no effect in the state. This bill is awesome. There are numerous states, I think it's over 20, that have introduced exact legislation similar to this, and it basically says that your laws do not exist in our state when it comes to this. I say awesome, except they need to move from just the Second Amendment to all of our other rights, and they need to stand up to the federal government at every turn, giving back every dollar and keeping our sovereignty for its state's citizens. So watch for that. That has a chance in Missouri, being that we have a Republican-controlled Congress, and I believe a Republican-controlled Senate as well. DailyJournalOnline.com, Missouri House budget plan skips Medicaid expansion. Another victory for liberty. Governor Jay Nixon proposed a budget last week, and it included a Medicaid expansion. The budget, being pushed forward by the committee chairman Rick Stream, intentionally left out Nixon's most prominent proposal to accept about $900 million from the federal government to expand Medicaid health care coverages to nearly 260K lower-income adults who earn too much to qualify under current guidelines. Send it back. I don't want that money. Our tax dollars should stay in Missouri. I'm not 100% against taxes. I don't think we should pay hardly any. Don't think we should pay income taxes. Don't think we should pay property taxes. But inside a state, to run the state, it should be run by the people that live in the state, not by people in Maryland, not by people in Massachusetts or Oregon. And I shouldn't be having to pay for some weirdos, I don't know, in, California or Florida. It's not, my money should stay in Missouri. I'll pay for my highways. I'll pay for my electricity. I'll pay for my stuff. But I'm not going to pay for your stuff because the states created the federal government. Remember. So another victory, telling the governor to shove it and telling the federal government to keep your damn money. We don't want to expand entitlements. From the Kansas City Star, this is my favorite. This is a bill that actually I 100% wholeheartedly support and should be pushed forward. It's obviously proposed with a bit of humor on its side, but Missouri House bill makes proposing gun control a felony. Representative Mike Lira of St. Louis County proposed a bill that would make it a felony for any legislator to propose a bill that would regulate the Second Amendment. Now that is a solid defense of the Second Amendment. I don't know how constitutional that is because we do have a Democratic Republic, and you can pretty much propose anything as long as you go through the system. But this is the statement that needs to be made by Republicans. Democrats, they passed Obamacare and then got kicked out of office. You know what that tells me? Democrats cared more about Obamacare than they did about their jobs. Hey, Republicans, what do you care more about than your jobs? Second Amendment ain't going to be it. You need to take a stand somewhere else as well, please. So, in response to the Second Amendment bill, Missouri House Dem proposes ban on anti-union measure. Representative Jeff Rorda of Barnhart introduced the bill Friday in response to that bill that would jail lawmakers for introducing gun control measures. He said he was inspired by the GOP approach to protecting gun rights and wants to do the same for unions. Excuse me, last time I read the Constitution, being able to form a union and collective bargaining was not protected under the Bill of Rights. Keep walking, man. Unions make up less than 15% of the workforce, and I think it's less than 10% in Missouri. You're not the majority. You don't get your say anymore. Let it go. It's not a constitutionally protected right. Anyways, finishing up, we've got 3 stories on a topic that some of you might not agree with me on, but it's a plant. From the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, in St. Louis, pot penalty could be same as a traffic ticket. They're looking to lower the punishment for smaller amounts of cannabis, marijuana. Well, this is a wolf in sheep's clothing in my estimation, in my opinion, because the city government makes a lot of money off traffic tickets with not a lot of work. They don't have to file a bunch of reports. They just write a ticket, then collect the money. I believe this is our government seeing green in their eyes and not the green of cannabis and looking to simply make money off of this without simply legalizing a plant that if you put a seed in the ground, it grows. Unlike any other drug that's on the list of illegal drugs in this country. Because why? They're scared of this. Pot tourism in Colorado, marijuana regulators okay idea. People put in place to regulate marijuana said, yeah, Colorado can have pot tourism and can attract visitors for that reason. We wouldn't need this if it was the federal government would just stop, regulating it, saying that you can't grow a plant. But they've got to do this. This is undoubtedly going to cause drug trafficking problems to the surrounding states around Colorado. Medical marijuana laws are a scam. It's a plant. Let people grow it if they want. Regulate the sale and distribution just like you do tobacco. Why? Why do I say this? And why, if you don't agree with me, you're saying he's crazy, this is a drug, it's dangerous. Why? Because they're not telling you what is really dangerous. I'm going to end this evening by pointing you in the direction of a very important website, ssristories.com. Link in the description below. This site has cataloged the mainstream, the documented cases of violence and adverse side effects from antidepressant and antipsychotic drugs. If you know anybody who's on an antipsychotic, look at this. These are the drugs that the FDA has approved. These are the drugs that doctors get paid to push to you. Not cannabis, which hasn't ever killed anybody. It's this. 66 school shootings alone. And that's outside of soldiers, out of domestic abuse, out of child molestation. 66 school incidents. All with links to medicine prescribed by doctors for depression. It's not the plants that God gave us that are evil. The government just wants to have an enemy. Remember, the government needs an enemy, so you'll side with it. But guess what? With God on our side, no one can defeat us. Who can stand against us? Not the government and not the evil in this world, because we've already won. Jay-Z signing off for Flashpoint Radio, saying God bless. Keep your eyes to the sky and come back and see me next time.
I'm as cool as everybody on